Good evening and welcome to the third and final meeting tonight. My name is Dennis Buckley, Mayor of the City of Beech Grove. At this time, we will convene our Common Council meeting for Monday, May the 3rd, 2021. In lieu of a roll call, I will ask each participant to introduce themselves, beginning on my left.
Dave Harrison, Councilman District 5.
Kara Ferguson, at large, and on the phone we have Councilman Ferguson, District 3.
Kevin Day, District 4.
James Kaufman, Clerk Treasurer.
Craig Wiley, City Attorney.
Elizabeth Lamping, Council District 1.
Gary Hall, District 2.
Thank you, Council. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The invocation, Pastor Bailey.
If you bow your heads, please. Lord, our most loving Father in heaven, Lord, we come to you, O Lord, asking for your blessing upon this time, O Lord. Touch the hearts and minds of those who are here, O Lord, that we might fulfill your will for our lives and for our community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Under special presentations, I want to mention the name of Gene Brown. Gene recently passed away. Gene was a longtime business owner in the city of Beech Grove. I also want to honor Tom Carson. Tom Carson was as good a man as you could find. He recently passed. He was a longtime Beech Grove resident. And I want to also honor Samaria Blackwell, the young kid whose life was just beginning when it was taken from her. And I want to thank our Minister Association, Pastor Dan, Pastor Jerry, all of those who held the service on all of their behalfs a couple of weeks ago. I really appreciate it. It was very good. But a moment of silence for these people. Thank you. I also want to recognize this evening Pat Snyder. Pat is retiring this year. She lives at the top of the hill on the bend at 13th Street. She worked for Beech Grove City Schools for 50 years. She was a librarian, so she's calling it a day at the end of the school year. So a wonderful person, and read to a lot of kids over the years. So we want to recognize her this evening. At Council, at this time, I'll ask the Police Department to come up for a American Red Cross recognition. Chief?
Good evening, Council and Mayor. We probably don't do this as a department very well or very often. We don't recognize some of the extraordinary measures and things that our officers do on a daily basis. But one of our officers recently was nominated for something that he did back in June of 2020, and he was recently recognized at the beginning of April for his life-saving measures from the Red Cross. He specifically, Officer Shipley, specifically received the Certificate of Extraordinary Personal Action. And what that means is that he's never received Red Cross training on life-saving measures, but he went above and beyond and was able to intervene and save an individual's life. I'll read you the little synopsis of what he did, and we'll go from there. Brandon Shipley. In June of 2020, K-9 Officer Brandon Shipley responded to a call about a person down in an apartment complex. And upon arrival, he found a man responsive from an apparent overdose. Officer Shipley performed an assessment and administered Narcan. The man responded and was transported to the hospital. Later that same shift, Officer Shipley again responded to a call in a residential area where he found a woman unconscious in the front yard. He performed an assessment and administered Narcan. The woman responded and was transported to the hospital. Both individuals made a recovery. For his outstanding response to these emergencies, Officer Shipley received the Certificate of Extraordinary Personal Action.
Thank you.
I would just also point out that Officer Shipley, I think, has administered Narcan approximately 8 times since we received Narcan, probably about 8 years ago. So it's quite a bit. We have certain guys that, for whatever reason, Lieutenant Smith is our stop stick guy. It seems like every time there was a pursuit, he was able to deploy stop sticks and able to apprehend the subject. But I just want to thank Officer Shipley again for his service to the community. All these guys that come in, they do stuff like this all the time. We just don't recognize them. Most of the time it's because they don't want to be recognized. They'd rather just do the job, but sometimes we force the issue. So thank you.
The last special presentation not on the agenda this evening, I'll defer to Counselor Gary Hall. Gary?
Thank you, Mayor. Moments ago, I informed the mayor and the city attorney that I'll be stepping down from my position as councilman to focus on my health. I would like to thank the citizens of Beech Grove for allowing me this privilege and the opportunity to represent District 2, and I sincerely thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Well, we wish you the best, Gary.
Thank you.
That was kind of, I wasn't expecting that conversation here a little while ago. So,
Thank you.
obviously, if you need something, you can call us.
Absolutely.
Love you, Gary. Thank you for your service, my brother.
Thanks, man.
We'll move on to reading of the minutes. The minutes have been presented to you from the previous meeting, Monday, April the 5th, 2021. The floor is open for any questions, comments, or corrections. No questions, comments, or corrections. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the April 5th meeting.
I'll make said motion. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, the same sign.
Scared me.
Motion carries. Thank you. Public comment. Counselor?
Yeah, Kelsey Bill from Mater Design.
I'm going to defer and have her come up when we talk
Very well.
about the specific function. Anyone else?
That's it. Anybody else want to speak?
Can I say something?
Yes.
Well, but this isn't, usually I'd save it for comments, but since most of the police department's here, I want to tell the chief, my wife, drives a school bus, and many days she complains about stop arm runs. And let me tell you, they followed her in different buses. I don't know how many they've caught, but they've caught 2 just on her watch in like the last week. And I tell you, I never understand anybody that runs a stop arm. It baffles me to no end. Because one day she had a kid that was going to run in front of the bus. And she honked the horn loud enough it scared the kid, and he stopped. And she said, "You can't do that." But if there had been a car coming around, he'd have nailed that kid. Yeah. And I tell you, I appreciate you guys getting out there and following these buses. Yeah. It's more than just hers, and I think there's been a couple others they've caught. And I'm telling you, I was going down 9th Street one day, I seen a guy blatantly run the damn thing. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And I hope the judge, when he gets them, gives them the full, whatever the crime is warranted. So, thank you. So I just wanted to say that while you were still here.
Thank you. I just want to let you know, one incident I know that on the 28th was Officer Kelly Spivey. She's one of our school resource officers. I had an occasion to pull her body cam because she was having difficulty with the camera. Anyways, that's one person I know, so I just wanted to recognize her since you were bringing that up.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Committee reports, police station update. Chief?
This will just be a short update. I've still been in contact with Greg Martz from GM Development. He is heading up most of the meetings with the developer and the architect. They did send me some stuff today about some site plans and variances and different zoning stuff. So we are moving forward, and he's very excited and says that everything is on track. I have had a couple more meetings with some landowners, and I have another, hopefully 2 more this week to try to lock down a site so we can continue to move forward with the pricing of the building.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thanks, Chief. We did not have any renewals for the ABC to report. RDC report, Liz.
The RDC, last meeting, we approved our docket. And then we had some input from the Greenscape Commission on working on ideas for how to improve hardscapes without destroying greenscapes on Main Street. We have a workshop on the 22nd of May, which is a Saturday, starting at 9 o'clock here in these chambers. And then our next, that'll be the 22nd. Our next RDC meeting is Thursday, May the 20th at 7, and then the workshop is on the 22nd. So that's all.
Thank you, Liz. Kelsey, did you want to say anything on behalf of the Greenscape Commission? Going green in the Grove or anything?
We've not had a chance to meet since that RDC meeting, so I'll wait on that.
Okay. Your council, you should have a report distributed on compliance activity for the month of April. And the last report is financial. Jim?
Good evening. City Hall is now open to the public. Masks are required to be worn, and exact change is requested if paying cash. Citizens can also pay their sewer bills online by phone, mail, or by dropping their payment off in one of the 2 24-hour drop boxes. There have been some questions raised regarding the SRF bond payments made for the sewer. When this bond began, payments were made with monthly deposits into the Bank of New York Mellon account. For some reason, this was changed a couple years ago, and payments were being made in 6-month lump sums. It was brought to my attention that our current deposits were not compliant and that they went against the bond deposit agreement. I attached a letter I received last April from the Indiana Finance Authority, and will read it into the record. Last July, my office started making the scheduled monthly deposits as agreed upon. You guys should have that letter. I'll read it just for the record. This is from Emma Kotlowski, April 7, 2020. Hi, James. I also left you a voice message about this matter. I wanted to touch base with you and ask that starting July for you to begin sending in monthly payments to the Bank of New York. Currently, Beech Grove sends in 6 months of payments in advance, and that practice does not follow the deposit agreement. Please review the attached pages 10 through 13 and give me a call when you have a few moments to discuss. Again, nothing urgent. This can wait until July to discuss if necessary. Thanks, Emma, Indiana Finance Authority. So I attached a schedule there for your record as well. So we are currently making those monthly deposits as requested and as agreed to. Another question I've been getting is update on the general fund account balance and the sewer fund balance. The general fund typically goes into the negative around April, May of each year. This year it went negative much sooner. Each year the sewer makes a return of investment ROI payment of $706,892 and a pilot payment of $142,196. The mayor, city council, citizens, and I would all like to have city government less reliant on the sewer to provide services. In 2019, there was not enough money in the sewer account to make the full ROI payment, so Mr. McMillan only transferred half. In 2020, I transferred the remaining ROI portion from 2019 and the entire pilot payment for 2020. I've yet to transfer the 2020 ROI payment, and the current general fund balance makes it apparent that it needs to be done. The bank account balances are listed below as of today, May 3rd, 2021. These totals are prior to the claims that were approved earlier this evening. City Corporation, $1,838,509.08. Utility, $1,657,445.04. Criminal Investigation Fund, $34,318.54. RDC General, $342,318.54. RDC Debt Service, $240,000. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. James Kaufman. So I know that was a lot of information there, but if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I had one of two goals to, I know we don't want to be relying on the sewer to fund regular government activities. So I knew it was either going to show that we need to be relying on that fund being transferred every year, or we can survive without it. So I don't think we can survive without it just yet, so.
All right, thank you, Jim. We had a citizen just come in that wanted to speak to the council, so if that's all right, I'll have her come up so we can hear what she has to say.
All right. Hello, I'm Liana Shoemate. I live on Rodney Court in Beech Grove. My husband lived there for, 60 years or something. He was a retired sheriff's deputy. But in any case, there's been an issue about parking in the area on my street. And it is a cul-de-sac, so it's kind of a little bit of parking problem. And if you look at, well, I know you know the ordinances, but there's one about parking and what is considered an abandoned vehicle. Currently, it says that you have to move your car if it's parked in a public area on a public street every 3 days. I would understand that if it was New York City. It's kind of like Beech Grove. And it's difficult. If, for instance, right now, I actually took pictures. I have 10 feet of area on the street where I can park. I do have a driveway, but I also have some other vehicles. As a young man whose mother passed away, I'm letting him live in my basement right now. He's got a car. So it's a lot of parking issue for me. And so I'm having to move my car every 3 days because there's somebody who is not happy about me parking between his house and the next house, which is, I'm 67 years old. I really don't want to hoof it all the way down the street. I'm trying to park close to my home and not in front of somebody's house. So that's what started this whole thing. But in any case, I would like that to at least be every 7 days, or even maybe disregard it altogether, because what if I go on vacation, or what if someone else goes on vacation? It's really only something that someone can use as a your car is abandoned thing and get your car towed. It's perfect working condition. It's plated through October of '22. It's, no flat tires, not an eyesore. It's perfect. And this is the kind of thing that can happen when this kind of superfluous ordinance is in place, because there's no real explanation for why you have to move it every 3 days to me. I mean, if someone else has a reason for that, I'd like to hear about it. I certainly can understand if it was some problem, but just demanding that it be moved because the ordinance says it has to be moved every 3 days is kind of out there. So I would like to ask you all to discuss that and possibly make a change to that ordinance. I appreciate it. Thank you.
What was your last name again, ma'am, for the rest?
Shoemate, Liana Shoemate.
How do you spell that?
Leana, Shoemate, Shumate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no unfinished business from the previous meeting. Under new business, we have a couple items tonight. The first one is Main Street parking. And I'll read this into the record. Recently, 2 Main Street businesses have approached both the city and the RDC requesting to expand their outdoor seating capabilities. Mom's Restaurant, located at 508 Main Street, has requested table space, which would require the elimination of 1 parking spot on Main Street. O'Gara's Irish Pub, located at 522 Main Street, has also requested table space, which would require the elimination of 2 parking spots on Main Street. The cost for this project would be split evenly between the city and the RDC. Please note that there would not be any tree removal as part of this project. Before we consider moving forward on this project, I need guidance and approval from the Common Council, especially the elimination of parking spots. I thank you for your consideration in this important subject matter. Council, one of the most common complaints that I get is there's not enough parking on Main Street.
Let me
Go ahead, Dave.
Let me ask you, the ones that have, I know what is it called, the
Fifth Avenue?
Fifth Avenue Grill, they did it, but we didn't eliminate parking space. What, has there been any others that we've eliminated parking space?
I don't,
Think of?
I don't think so. No.
No?
You did it, restaurant group last year, and then 7th, building at 7th and Main was the bakery, but now it's a pizza place.
But they didn't eliminate a parking?
No,
Yeah.
just the green space.
And I'm not sure why O'Gara's would want it, why a bar would, I don't know. I guess there is outside drinking at some places, but Mom's I could kind of see, but I don't see eliminating a parking spot.
There's Jessica and Spencer's here from Moms. Did you want to comment? Any? Come on up.
Hi, y'all. I wanted to just make a correction on the address. It's 510 Main Street. We are not asking for the tree to be taken down. My philosophy, I mean, I'm almost 60 years old, and I grew up in a small town where Main Street meant it's where you walk and you visit shops and you go to diners or to cafes and things like that. We're not asking for anything less or more of one parking spot. I want the trees to stay, the tree, and if it doesn't, the one that Mr. O'Gare was asking about for outside seating, that tree is dead. And if nothing else, can we transplant it on the other side of our parking lot?
And we do have the side parking lot next to our restaurant.
And
We share with O'Gara's.
I had called today and asked for, I think, Angie, and they wanted us to put our tables outside dining in the parking lot. But that's what it is, it's a parking lot, which you can enter from either side of our building. Mine is, we all have kids, we have grandchildren, and you know how fast they can be, and how quickly somebody could get hurt by a car speeding through there. And we see it all the time. And I'm not willing to do that. We don't own that parking lot, so there is no way for us to put up any type of fence, gating, unless there's a way to remove it every night. I don't know, I don't have the answer to that. With the COVID, when it hit, it took so much money out of our pockets, and we didn't know what we were going to do. But we made it, and we're bouncing back, but we're still only at 75%, and we're only 13 tables. We are just trying to make a living. Keep things going the way that they are. We're gonna make it back. We all are, like not just myself or Jessica, but all of us in this room. We're just asking for one parking spot. That's all I have.
Pretty much summed it up.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you,
think
guys.
if tables are outside, you think that would enhance your business?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I think it would change our business. I think it would help, especially with some of the handicapped people that we have coming into the restaurant. It would just be so much easier for them to sit outside and be able to eat, getting out of their vehicle, preferred to walking in and stepping up the steps in the front door and trying to get in with their wheelchair and their canes and things like that. I really do think it would increase our business a lot.
How much square footage would that add? Over here, sorry.
Well, we have the little green area out front already with where the tree is.
Right.
If we keep the tree, we think we should take at least 1 parking space to add to that green section that's already there. Not keeping the tree, I don't know that we would have to necessarily take away a parking space. I think that we could probably accommodate at least 2 tables in that area. Or 3, possibly, depending on the square footage of what we're willing to do or expand. I would think that would be more up to voting on how big of a patio would be approved. We're willing to have 2 extra tables out there if that's it, but we think 2 extra tables is gonna be beneficial. I prepared a little drawing that you guys asked for us to sketch up the last time we was here at the meeting. We've provided our insurance papers for liability purposes. Everyone in the restaurant and the staff seems to be on board with this. If just the community could be on board with this is all we're asking.
So one of the concerns that I hear all the time is that a lot of the business owners are parking in parking places, and I don't think that's you, I think it may be further down. A lot of business owners are parking their cars out in front of their stores, and they're staying way past the allotted time. So do you think there's a way we could police that a little bit better so we could, or encourage, so, because if we're taking up more parking, that's going to be the issue. But maybe that would be some type of a common ground to try to get, and I know that's not for you to do. I'm just making a
I know
statement.
that none of our employees park out front.
Right. But I think further
And that's
down.
due to us having the extra parking on the side of the building. That gives us access to not take up them spaces out front for our staff. It also helps that O'Gara's has different hours than we do.
Yes.
We close every day at 3. They open every day at 3. So, well, except for Saturday, I think. So that's also somewhat beneficial for our staff too, because that gives us that extra space in the back to park by the dumpsters rather than taking up parking on the street. So I know for a fact all our parking up front is used for our business.
Used for your business.
Now, I can't say that for other businesses, but for our business, I know for a fact that ours is strictly for customers.
But I have heard that in general along Main Street, a lot of the business owners further down or further up from here are using those spaces for their own private parking instead of having them open for customers, for people.
That is true. I see it all the time.
I'm sure that is happening.
But
I
it's
don't
like
doubt
people
that.
that work in, I think it's called Nick's, and the young lady that works in one of the stores in our area, a couple doors down.
I know they park out front.
They all park on the opposite side of the street, which should be for those people like go into the computer store or whatever. We see it all the time. Another issue that I have, I just thought about it, is that we don't have a handicap ramp either as far as people parking in front of our store or our restaurant. Even if we take up that one space, if there's a way to have a ramp for people in wheelchairs. So we have to tell them, you gotta go all the way around because we have a step up. And there's no way to put a step up, or a ramp there. We have to tell them, why don't you park in the parking lot? Or we have to ask them to walk around. Or we go outside and literally help them into
inside.
our restaurant. There is absolutely no way, unless they park way down the street and find a curb that they can get up to come in. I mean, if you look at it, you will see clearly there is nothing there as far as like handicapped acceptable. Nothing.
I have just a kind of a comment. What if, since you guys have different business hours, would you guys be willing to, if we were able to move that tree and relocate that tree?
But that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because the tree in front of O'Gara's is dead.
That's what I'm saying.
We can share the patio.
That's what I'm saying. Could you share the patio?
Absolutely.
We not have to lose any parking.
Yeah. And
Relocate the tree.
and Johnny actually said that he'd be willing as far as to give up one of his parking spaces and the parking lot next to it to accommodate that, if that's what we needed to do.
Okay. I mean, that's
Just
what I was
because we are right there next to each other.
There is I can't give you a visual, but here's us, here's the parking lot, here's Johnny O'Gara's. Here's our tree, his tree is here. You have the parking lot. the tree in front of his, basically in front of his establishment, the tree is dead. There's also a meter out there. It looks horrible. And nobody even knows what it goes to, from what I understand.
Irrigation.
It doesn't,
Irrigation?
that doesn't work.
Well, I heard that it doesn't work, correct? Okay. So why is it there? It's something else that can be removed and beautify the area as well. It's just a gray box that's not doing anything.
I just feel like we can accommodate that little area and service the community rather than dead trees and
John doesn't own the parking.
giant metal machine.
No, he doesn't.
being
Who
on
owns the
there.
parking lot?
Who does own the parking lot? You know?
It's the owner of our building. I don't know his name. I really don't want to get
So there
into
wouldn't be
that.
anything you could do in the parking lot anyway.
Have you ran it by him or her at all about any of that parking?
No.
No, no,
Are you sure Johnny doesn't own that?
he
I
doesn't.
know he doesn't.
Yeah, Johnny
I know
doesn't.
He doesn't
Okay.
own it.
No.
He has to get permission when he used to put
Right.
the tent out there from the
And
guy.
basically, yes, he pays to rent the parking lot for different events.
Just so you guys know, there's state legislation, regulations where you can't do that to trees, just so you know, to save you a lot of frustration. You can't just arbitrarily, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's like strict guidelines.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, just so you know, they're not to
From
frustrate
the
you.
last meeting,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll take it out of my pocket and buy another tree.
I think that's the discussion we had at the last RDC meeting.
Thank you.
thank you.
Council, I'm going to call up Jessica Beal.
Yes.
She's a member of the Greenscape Commission and has done some research in that area, so she can share her thoughts with you as well. Jessica, or Kelsey, come on up.
I will take that compliment gladly.
Oh, Jessica.
My name's Kelsey Beal. I've been a resident of Beech Grove for about 13 years now. I work at Mater Design on 3rd and Main. We're landscape architects, so we design outdoor spaces for a living. That's what my education is in. We do a lot of things with like civil engineers and architects. Streetscapes, that's my world, my profession, my background. So I really care about this issue a lot. That's why I'm here. So at the last RDC meeting, I spoke kind of on behalf, just as a representative of the Greenscape Commission, to try to just wait, let's not take the trees out. The street trees are a huge asset to our streetscape, our pedestrian environment. If you think about what Main Street was before we did all the renovations, there was not a lot of greenery. And I think it's easy to overlook how much that means to the atmosphere of Main Street. And I know we've all seen Main Street starting to thrive and, bubble with activity, especially we're doing like First Fridays events, and there's a lot more pedestrian traffic going around. So we want to keep the street trees and keep everything as green as we can. That said, outdoor dining would also be fantastic for the pedestrian environment. And I know when we talk about taking away some parking spaces, everybody gets on alert real fast. But there's a lot of precedent to doing things like that. And it's talked about in pretty much every project I ever work on when there's parking involved. Let's see. In 2019, the downtown revitalization plan was made, and there's a section about parking in there where they counted, their study area was Emerson to 8th Street, just along Main, and they counted close to 400 available parking spaces, and that's private and public. But just to show you, there's a lot of psychology involved in the perception of how far you think you have to walk, and it's not really as far as you think. And you'll walk a lot farther from the back of the Walmart parking lot to go in, to walk all the way around Walmart to go back out to your car. But if you can't park right in front, you feel, right in front of Mom's, you feel like that's too far to walk sometimes. This is from the redevelopment study, and it shows you just a little diagram of where the parking spaces are. This diagram is something I made today. It's just an aerial photo, and then I circled a 1-minute walk, which is, if you Google it, it says 80 meters, so that comes out to 250 feet. a 2-minute walk and a 3-minute walk, and then I counted all the parking spaces on the aerial photograph. So it's not the most scientific thing, but it just gives you an idea of how many parking spaces are actually there. And that is private and public. So the private lot between Mom's and O'Gara's would count in that, but like they said, they have different hours. And I know the lot across the street, which is kind of by State Farm Insurance, and they're really okay with people, they wouldn't have Mom's customers towed if they were parked there, things like that. So within a 1-minute walk, there's 46 spaces. A 2-minute walk, there's 120 spaces. In a 3-minute walk, there's 220 spaces. So, I mean, I understand that that's all of those businesses on that block need those, but it's going to be pretty rare that all of those are full at the same time. And then when you consider the value of what a patio space would do for those businesses and the customers, I would love to go sit outside under the shade of that tree and have breakfast. What else? A parking space would yield about 250 square feet-ish, give or take, depending on the, so you could fit a lot more than 2 tables on that. And you could also build in a ramp space to that if you needed. At the last RDC meeting, I kind of volunteered my design services to help come up with ideas. I'm obviously not going to do construction documents for free, but I'm here. I want to help and come up with solutions that would help everybody. If you just quickly Google some of these terms, you can find other places easily and pictures of them where they've converted parking spaces into patio spaces. And you can do that in a temporary way to where we're not having to rip up asphalt and pour new curbs and things like that and spend a ton of money. I mean, you can build a deck that's flush with the sidewalk so it's wheelchair accessible. You put a railing on it so the cars, you want some visual separation there for safety, obviously.
Okay.
Oh, safety was brought up.
Yeah.
If we were to take out those 2 trees, which they're the islands that the curb turnout, we call it, into the parking space, that is a really, really dangerous space for people to sit. More so than if we were to take up a parking space either in the lot or on the street, because that's where cars are turning in and out constantly. And I don't know if you've ever looked at curbs. I mean, people hit curbs all the time. And that's the most dangerous place to put people, I think. So I guess with that, that's all I have. I just wanted to let you guys have that knowledge. And if you have any questions for me.
Well, just, Kelsey, clarify to the council the Greenscape's responsibility for the green spaces on Main Street. And there's actually, we do have language that supports that anytime any of these decisions are made, that you are to be involved in preserving and keeping those green spaces. So just make sure the council understands that we do have an ordinance that supports that as well.
That's correct. So I'm new to the Greenscape Commission this year, so I'm not 100% on all of the details of the ordinances and things, but the Greenscape Commission was created in part to protect and evaluate the trees in the public right-of-way. So the Main Street trees would be the most valuable to that. So there is somewhere in the bylaws says anytime a tree is to be removed or needs pruning or things like that, the recommendation, it should be at the recommendation of the Greenscape Council or the approval of the Greenscape Commission. And I should have said earlier when you asked, Mayor, we're getting started on the tree inventory that we're supposed to be updating every 5 years. So we've started looking into getting some grant money and things like consultants to get that done.
Ours, a part of the revitalization plan that we did a few years ago, Next Stop Beech Grove was part of that. We kind of spearheaded that event. And one of the biggest concerns that we had when that plan was developed was of Main Street parking. And that's the biggest concern that comes up even today as business owners say, there's not enough street parking, there's not enough parking for businesses. You have probably, I'd say, inventory from 100 to 120 businesses in that Main Street area. So you think of, 1 or 2, 3 parking spots for each one, that parking gets eaten up very quickly. One of the concerns I know is Liz brought up is business owners parking on Main Street or employees parking on Main Street long past the 2-hour limit there. Last year, I know we had a business owner come here, we had an issue with parking there in the same block as Mom's, about how there's no parking, and then they had to put their own signs up on their building saying you can only park here if you're here for this business. So I know it's a very big concern for a lot of business owners on Main Street. It has been for me, my business as well, just because especially that block, we have more retail now, more people coming, which is a great thing. But people have to park farther away, so it's hard. And every day's different. If we're coming to lunchtime, it's different. Dinner, it's different. First Fridays are very busy. That's great, but I know that's just a very big concern for a lot of business owners and businesses, because if people can't park anywhere close, and they can say a block or a block and a half isn't too bad, but for some of them, my business is different. I have an elderly clientele that it is hard to find, but I know it's a very hard subject, because it is something you need the parking spots to bring the people in, but also you need to have business there to allow them to space to eat. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there, but it's hard. It's hard both ways, but yeah, so just my 2 cents.
Well, what can we do to encourage the business owners not to take those valuable spaces, or to inventory or monitor that somehow, I guess is my question. Not for you, Kelsey, but for
Enforce the existing law.
yeah.
Write them up.
Because that could be a lot of extra
little bit of
space.
education, really, you win more flies with honey. If you just explain to them and talk to them, it might go a long way.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, please? Thinking outside a little bit. You spoke to Brian, real good business neighbor. Mom's parking lot between you and Johnny's. Could there be, if these were to kind of meet halfway, because that's the only way things get accomplished, doing that, allowing people like overflow parking if there was signage there? So if someone pulled in front of Mom's and you see the restaurant's full, which is a great thing, and there's a sign there, overflow parking at State Farm parking lot available. Again, being a good neighbor, would the State Farm guys, Johnny's guys, I spoke to Mrs. Rocky the other day, great conversation with her. She's the in charge of the post office, and I think that's going to be one of our topics here in a moment. That overflow parking, people would automatically, and a little exercise is good for all of us, So if we try to be more positive about it, versus, I don't want to chop a tree down. You can't have enough business traffic for our businesses.
Right.
That's what we should be, okay? But then I don't want the overflow parking in front of the residents right at the alley of 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and that's what happens. So a lot of that push, and it's not bad pushback, it's just reality. They come home from work, there's no place for them to park. There's a lot of frustration there. And those are the calls I get, and you try to help out. But there's no, and I tell them, per the ordinances, there's no assigned parking, it's public parking. It's first come, first served. And that's usually not a good answer, because they're, well, my taxes pay, and they do. Their taxes do pay for the services. So if we had an overflow.
Some signage would be.
Yeah, I mean, is there a business up there would be willing to help out a little bit? And I know Mr. Violent's got that parking lot there. I don't know when his office isn't open, is he willing? Again, the post office, she was very generous the other day when we spoke. Johnny's between there. I mean, and then you go down to, well, the Eagles seem that they're always busy or full. Spalding Jewelry, they have that parking lot there after hours.
There is a lot. It is northwest, so it's between 6th and 7th. It is labeled, at least on Google Street View, as public parking.
It's the senior center, behind the senior center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's around the senior center.
I just discovered that today.
Yeah.
So some signage directing people there would be really helpful.
I know,
and just signage encouraging people to walk, like I drove here and I could have walked, but just incidents like that, if we encourage the residents, those who are able to walk and save the parking for those who need it.
I know there's some business owners on my block that use the senior center a lot for our employees, because we know that if they can't park out front, they can park out back. So our solution was we paved the whole back of our lot. It used to be gravel, not very pretty, so we paved it all. That way, if they can't park out front, we know they're going to find us and they can get in our back door. So that was our solution, and it solved some of it just because they know, and our customers know, if you can't find out front, come around the back and use me or the tea rooms a lot, and you know, you can still come in and visit and park somewhat close. But yeah, that lot is very helpful for a lot of people. So I don't know if there's other options or plans down the way to do that as well for the future is always a good option to add that.
So there are lots of ways to tackle this, and there's not just one solution.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Thank you.
Council, I'll open it up if anybody has discussion or comments they want to make. I just didn't want to act. I wanted to hear what you had to say and get some guidance on this. You know, you may not want to do anything. You may want to do these improvements. You may want to do temporary improvements. I don't know, but I'm giving you the opportunity to comment and see what's on your mind on this subject. I'm just not going to close parking spaces. You know, I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, again, if the business owners can be a little more giving and find ways to get their continual using, I mean, from what I understand, sometimes they use these spaces all day. So they're parking in front of customer parking spaces that there could be an exchange of parking in and out of those spaces many times over. So can we somehow meet with, I don't know, find a common ground or find a solution to open up those spaces for customers specifically on Main Street? I mean, short of, I guess, putting up parking meters. Kidding.
You know, Mass Ave, they closed off Mass Ave, and I kind of like what she had to say about the temporary.
Yeah.
You know, that's something to look at, and where it wouldn't be permanent, you could remove stuff. You know, just a thought. I don't know. I just don't want to arbitrarily just do something. I want to hear what the council has to say.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, and as long as it doesn't have a ripple effect, I mean, we have to be considerate. I mean, I certainly want these businesses to have something that's going to improve their marketability, but as long as there's not that ripple effect, well, now they got this, now I want that, so I don't know. That's just something just to keep open-minded, I guess.
But there's no, tonight, council, no vote. We're just going to discuss it, and if you have input, could you please reach out to me so we can come up with some type of plan to try and help these businesses, not only on Main Street, but on Emerson as well. I've had businesses on Emerson reach out to me as well. So we just have to go a little at a time. Thanks, council.
They're still there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I comment real quick?
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay. My comment is, has anybody looked at that one lot that has the billboard in it in the grassy plot or off of Main Street? Maybe the RDC can look into that, possibly convert that into additional parking spots. I like the idea about temporary seating, because if you think about it, there's roughly 4 to 5 months out of the year that outdoor seating will not be used. So if we could use temporary stuff to set up there instead of permanently losing those parking spots, at least during the colder months, they'll be back to available parking. That's all I have.
Thank you, Bobby. The corner he's referring to is at 3rd and Main. It's on the southeast corner. Believe it or not, I don't know how it is now, but that was owned by 4 different people. Each person had a little section. And because the reason I got onto it was because the grass was tall. And they said, you're not going to believe who owns this. 4 different people own that little plot.
Oh, my.
So that's what you run into. But we'll bring this back up sooner than later, because I do think it's important that we try to help business if we can. Council, I want to go to the next one, post office. The postmaster's here with us tonight. She's hit me up about this before, and she hit me up about it a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago. I reached out to Councilor Hall and asked Gary to look in this for us on our behalf. Gary, can you comment on this, please?
Sure. You called me on the 26th, and I had the pleasure of meeting with Mrs. Rocky had a great conversation. She had, I think in your packets are a map that the mayor drew for us.
It's a doozy.
There's one point. That's good. That's
See
the
him on
point.
First Friday.
Not to scale.
Yeah. And Mrs. Rocky, when she spoke to the mayor, along the west side of Second, there's 2 spaces that are deliberately no parking for the accessibility to the mailbox drop box there, which is a permanent structure. She was requesting a spot north of that and 2 south of that to also be considered to be a part of that. So to summarize that, the entire parking on the west side of the intersection of Second and Main would no longer be available. I met with the businesses, and I did what I did. I walked the corner and had great conversations with the business, talked to David from Auto Nerds, spoke with Lee at the auction house, spoke to Pro Staffing. Mrs. Byland owns that property. She has tenants in there. Spoke with Mike there at the auction center, and the blue caboose never replied back, so I didn't get their input. Everyone was, again, kind of like I made a comment to you, that they were more than welcome or willing to be a good neighbor, which is, that's Beech Grove. From that, though, one of the businesses, it was kind of brought up earlier, once you give up a spot, you're losing consumers. They didn't really like that, and when we spoke, again, it was a great visit, you had talked about there was some flexibility, and something that came up afterwards, another business owner called me back, and would it be possible within the post office on the west side of your building, that parking lot, and you said that you had the post office vehicles that parked along the parallel parking, and then you had the disability along the building for the accessibility. On the west side of the parking lot, would it be possible, and again, just throwing a curveball at you, that permanent drop box was permanently moved within the parking lot, and you could have that channel through there, and then the citizens would actually gain 2 parking spaces where they currently aren't available, which is a completely 180 than what we talked about. But that was, again, a business, because they weren't there when I knocked on the door, but they did call back. And they're like very proactive, there's no issues, they're very supportive, but they're like, usually when people pull in there, they're drop and go, drop and go, drop and go. So they were supportive of that, but then they said parking is very, very limited. And that had nothing to do with the other businesses and stuff like that, because they're like, our employees don't park there, but it's an issue. So if you want to kind of, what we spoke about, if you want to hit that up. And
Right. Again, I'm Michelle Rocky. I'm the postmaster down at the Beech Grove Post Office. And the concern we have with the parking spots on the west side of North Second there is traffic coming in and out, congestion, and mostly our elderly people trying to get in and out to access that collection box. A lot of them access the box because a lot of times ambulatory issues, and they can't even get in the post office. However, I like the idea you suggested, and we've been talking about that within ourselves on moving that. I do have contractors, or actually our maintenance guys, going to be out tomorrow, they're scheduled anyway, to remove the fence that runs along the studio there. It's a rusted fence on the west side of the parking lot, which that should help us. It's something Mr. Kaufman has wanted for a long time. However, if we were able to design something to put it over there, I can understand that I don't think that would be a bad idea at all. I would have to go all the way through Washington to get it done. Right now, I'm trying to get a mailbox moved from the Emporium over there, right next to H&R Block. I'm trying to get that collection box moved back to Churchman Place for the elderly people back there. I've been working on this now for 5 months, and I don't have any resolve there yet. I'm willing to attempt your suggestion. I don't think it's a bad one. We would need, I would want one-way signs and things like that to try and get a one-way traffic. But there are other offices who have them like that. So it's something that I can look into, short of pulling the parking spots right away. A lot of time the parking spots are empty. I know in the last few days, there's been one car parked, which has actually helped my situation because people have been able to flow in and out of that collection box rather well. We have a lot of people who come from all kinds of surrounding areas because that is a convenient box. We have a lot of business mail. We have business mail coming into that box from the north side, the west side, pretty far out, which is surprising, but it's people, local people usually, or people passing through for convenience that use that box. And again, that brings them into Beech Grove. The big concern is the safety issue. But if we can, I'm willing to look into that, to the moving of the box rather than eliminating the parking spaces. It'll take me a minute, but I'm willing. Pardon?
Since it's, the final say comes from Washington, have you?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Since the final say comes from Washington, have you thought about contacting Andre Carson's office, our U.S. Congressman? He might be able to.
I can, and he may be a channel in. I don't know how far that would get me, but I'd certainly be willing to take that route as well.
If I can get a hold of you, I've got some feed to get to him.
Okay.
So can I have your phone? I mean, what would be the business number I could get a hold of you?
I'm sorry.
Is it on here, the business number? Okay.
Should be at the bottom.
Good, thank you. I see it, thanks.
Yeah, down there at the office is 317
Okay.
464-6807. I don't know if you each have a copy of the letter or not, but it's right at the bottom of the letter, along with my email address down there.
I'll see if I can make some contact for you.
Thank you.
I got a quote, real quick. I've been down there many times and all three of these spaces are occupied. And the only one I have a problem with is that number one, because you got to pull out and go around that car. And you know, if you're an idiot and not looking, there's a lot of traffic comes down through there. But that to me is the one that, if you left it there, would be the one that needs to go.
Right.
That box up maybe 10, 15 feet and then just leave the 3 parking spots closed. So you just be closing one more, leaving the back 2 open.
That is correct, and that is a bad spot in that when people are trying to pull out from there, they're kind of blinded from traffic coming down the alley.
Right.
Mayor Buckley had mentioned that previously, and I do agree with that. The only reason I was asking about the other 2 is because of people trying to get in. A lot of people cannot even pull into the box, and you say they're just dropping a letter and go. You would think that until they're dropping in 2 trays of business mail and backing up traffic behind them, or if it's someone who is still looking for their item to put in that one piece in that box, different things, they congest the area. It's not a huge concern. And on the south side of the box, it would just be more accessible.
So what
and
about
eliminate
if you move that box to the open parking spot 1 and left the 2 behind it that are closed right now? And close the one to the north of it. You have 3 open spots.
Do you have that diagram?
She don't have it?
I don't know if she does or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a very good idea. That is a very good idea. I like that idea. My only concern with that idea is when the whatever company came through and laid the underground lines there, they put the orange stick up, and that orange stick hasn't been up ever since they put it up, and that's kind of close to the corner.
Gotcha.
The problem there is, and again, I'm willing to consider that idea as well. The problem I see there is trucks trying to back into there. It's a very tight squeeze to get some of those semis in there.
Wow.
And then you have, I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but UPS, DHL, and FedEx, all 3 access the dock there and drop off packages daily.
Yeah.
And some of their drivers are not quite as coordinated with some of the trucks and getting them in. A lot of my drivers are, but not all of them. Right. So that's just the big issue. Right now, I've got a huge hole there at the bottom that I talked to a contractor today about perhaps cementing from the sidewalk on over to my lot in order to just help that area. So my concern would be if the trucks don't take it out, I'd be fine with it. But I also like the parking lot idea.
Yeah.
We just have to make it a one-way. So What do we think? Any other questions? Going to table it, see what I can come up with, and I can present additional information to you. All righty?
Yes, thank you. And council, you're, obviously, at any time, you can email your thoughts, and we can take a look at it. If you decide to eliminate parking on that street, we will have to, that will have to be done by ordinance. We just can't arbitrarily do that. So just keep that in mind, and that's not really a big deal. We'll move on. I wanted Jim to take you through the wastewater bill that we just received. This is the second one in a row with the new rate. Jim, can you walk them through that real quick, please?
So we're getting our citizens' bills for the treatment of wastewater. And as you know, the rate went up this year from last year was 1.1721. It went up to 1.4148, and that's the rate for this year. So just based on those numbers alone, this rate versus last rate, this month's bill was $12,451.48 more than what it would have been last year at the lower rate. So just to show you, and I put those numbers there on every month for you guys to see for your reference, just to see the difference. And again, next year I know it's scheduled to go up again and here on out. So just to show you that we are being charged more. I haven't compared any of the flow rates or the the total usage compared to last year, but just based on what it costs per unit and the increase there, that's the difference there. So the 12,451.48 is the difference. Yeah, so hopefully that just helps just to see what those bills are. And that was last month's bill, so we're getting this month's bill here in a couple weeks.
Any thoughts or questions for the clerk? This is an increase of, over the last 2 months, of over $22,000. So we'll have to adjust to keep up with it. Next item that I wanted to pass on to you is the 2021 paving schedule. Tonight at the Board of Public Works meeting, we opened 3 bids for paving. And on page 2 is the scheduled paving that we want to do this summer. The Community Crossings grant there's 2 rounds. We did not get funding for the first round. That doesn't mean we won't. That just means that we have to go again in July. But we want to continue on track with paving. So these are the roads that we would like to pave this summer. If you go down to the bottom 2, Redfern Drive, you can picture it from 9th to Sherman Drive, a really bad road, really bad. You go a little ways west on Redford from 9th and you enter Indianapolis. So there's two rates. One rate is the Beech Grove Redfern, which is a little over $78,000, and the Indianapolis Redfern, which is $72,000. What the reason that's on there, council, what the city of Indianapolis wants to do, they want us to pave the entire road, Redford Drive, from 9th to Sherman Drive, if you can picture that, and then turn around and bill them for the cost to do their portion. So that's what that's about right there. And it's a little worse on our end because a lot of the road will have to come out because the base is bad. So, but these are the streets that we want to pave this summer. We may have to cut it a little bit depending on the funding, but all of this, do you remember the Pacer schedule came out, the inventory of roads? This all comes from that inventory. All of these roads were either rated 2 or 3, which means they're in bad shape and need to be redone. So this is where we're at. We'll award the bid at the May 17th Board of Works meeting, and hopefully soon after that, council, they'll be starting to do some work. So I wanted to pass that on if there's any questions for the council. And the last item that I have that I wanted to go through with you is an update on the Oprah grant for sanitary sewers. They advertised the project April the 19th through the 26th. This Wednesday at 10 o'clock, there'll be a pre-bid meeting conducted by Wessler Engineering. And then contractors who want to bid on it, the bids are due May the 17th at 3 p.m. with the bid opening that night at the Board of Works meeting. Remember, this is the Oprah grant for $600,000. We have to have that bid awarded by July the 1st. So we're on track, and we'll award the bid by June the 7th. So that's a major, major project. And we're getting closer to getting it done for construction. All of the environmental work has been done and documented, so we're ready to go with the project. So I wanted to pass that on to you tonight, just for your information in case anybody asks. So that's all I have. There's a couple things I put in your packet. One is through the Department of Natural Resources that they have certified the City of Beech Grove Park System's 5-year master plan. That was some good work done by the Parks Board. So that's on track. And then there is a change of management at a local tavern on Main Street. That goes up for liquor renewal and hearing on June the 7th at 9:30 a.m. That's all I have. That concludes new business. We'll go around the council. Dave, any comments?
Yeah, just thank everyone for coming, and thank the police department for doing what they do with the school buses. And I did want to address, I think Mr. Copenhaver spoke at the last meeting about some things that you did or didn't do, and I just wanted to clear up some things. In 91, St. Francis purchased the property on Emerson, not during this administration. 92, they started construction. They finished it in 95. 2008, again, not in this administration, St. Francis approved the consolidation of this hospital down to theirs. That was done then. There's nothing this administration could do. Dispatch, of course, was lost anywhere from 2000 to 2008, or 12, I don't remember, but it was before us. And as far as Milestone was good as in until they went over there to start clearing the land, and they found railroad ties, railroad rails, and they were under a time constraint to get their new building built, and that was going to set them back way too far, and because of 69 coming through. So I think they had to have that building built by 2022 or 21.
Somewhere in there.
So I think it was 22. So the cleanup, and plus the cleanup, was going to cost them massive amounts of money, which was more than what they had budgeted. So that's why they pulled out. Nothing to do with this administration. Other than that, thank you for your coming out. That's all I got.
Karen?
I don't have any comment at all. Think of.
Bobby, have anything?
Oh, sorry. Bobby, do you have anything? I keep forgetting he's there.
Yeah. First, I want to say thank you to Officer Shipley I know firsthand, especially how the Narcan that we carry as officers truly save individuals' lives. Thank you for being there and taking the steps to save those residents. Also, Mayor, is there a way that we could find out with this Oprah grant for the sewer improvements? Has anybody estimated how much gallons of water, waste treatment water, that's going to save us for being treated once the repairs are done? And that's all I have.
I'd have to ask the engineers that are working on that to pass that on to Bobby for me. I don't know off the top of my head.
Bert, could you hear him? Bert, could you hear him?
Yes, I heard him.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard him. Thank you.
Call him Bert.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's his nickname, Bert. Bert.
I just want to thank everyone for coming. Gary, I wish you well. I'll be praying for you, and you've done a great job for your constituents. You really have.
Thanks, Kip.
Liz?
Just thanks everybody for coming. Reminder, going green in the Grove this Saturday, the 8th, from 12 noon to 4 p.m. and they're giving out free trees, right, Kelsey? So a lot of cool project, a lot of cool things. So anybody want to volunteer? You could probably use some help. And as well, Mr. Hall, I wish you well. And
Thank you.
Okay. One last thing I do want to pass on to you. Early Saturday or Sunday morning, there was a fire at the Amtrak facility. 2 maintenance buildings were set on fire deliberately. And the cause and origin was conducted, and it was determined, obviously, that they were deliberately set. So I sent a letter today to the congressman in our district, plus the ranking members of the Transportation Committee in Congress, requesting that the FBI investigate this fire because it was conducted on federal property. Federal property was destroyed, so that warrants, in my opinion, a federal investigation. So I'll know tomorrow, maybe, but I think it warrants it. I'm glad nobody got hurt. There was some equipment damaged, but sometimes that happens. But whoever is responsible for this, there's other buildings over there that could meet the same fate if this isn't stopped. So tomorrow, I sent the notice today. Hopefully, I'll hear something tomorrow. So having said that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much, council.